We'll call this meeting of the Yuma Union High School District Number 70 Governing Board to order. If you'll all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and moment of silence, Mrs. Mellon will lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Thank you all for attending tonight, this special meeting of the Yuma Union High School District Governing Board. Tonight, we are here to question the superintendent candidate. A little background: as the Yuma Union High School District continues the process to select the next superintendent, students and the public will have an opportunity to learn more about the candidate by asking interview questions. Mr. Patton's going to be in charge, so I will turn it over to Mr. Patton. We use that term loosely.
I understand. Thank you, Mr. Townsend. So today we are going to start off our interview of the superintendent candidate, Mr. Tim Brienza, with 11 students from across Yuma Union High School District. They will be asking individual questions. So there'll be 11 questions coming from our students. And then after that, if any members of the public are in attendance, they will have an opportunity to ask questions following the students. But Mr. Townsend will provide directions about that process if there are any public questions following the students. So with that introduction, we'll go ahead and get things started with our first student.
Good evening. I'm Alexandria and I'm from Yuma High School. My question for you is, what would be your primary goal or goals as superintendent?
Thank you. My primary goals as superintendent?
Yes.
Working in this wonderful district for the last 26, 27 years, I've seen a lot of growth in our district and what we do as a district over time. So I would, number one, want to see a smooth transition from our retiring superintendent and hopefully to myself. So that way the ultimate goal of making sure that every student is prepared for college, career, community when they graduate is still the ultimate goal.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Geraldine Ibarra. I am the student body president at Kofa High School, and my first question for you, Ms. Brienza, is how will you represent and advocate for the needs of every student?
How will I advocate for every student and for their needs? I think some of the work that I've demonstrated over the last 2.5 decades hopefully has put me in a position where what I've done in the past will speak volumes. For example, one of our most important groups, students who maybe at some point in their high school careers are on the verge of not continuing. I'm really proud of the work that I have put in with our dropout prevention specialists in the district. They're always interesting. Every student has their own story. And a dropout rate with roughly 2.85% for this last year is down from where we were the year before, but we're not at zero. So most importantly, I would advocate for those students who are in the need of schooling and at some point just said, you know what, why should I continue? We have an amazing staff. Starts with the classified employees, student nutrition, making sure that they have what they need so the students are fed before they go to class. Our custodians, our grounds, making sure there's a clean, safe environment, making sure the teachers are supported, making sure administration is supported, and our tech department as well, making sure that the students have the one-to-one technology. And that's another area that I would have to make sure that everyone has access to that technology, whether here or at home, so our students can be successful. So that's just one way. And can you repeat the question again, Geraldine? I'm sorry.
How will you represent and advocate for the needs of every student?
Yeah. So, and with the needs of every student, I do believe we have some amazing work that we do on every campus. And currently, right now, 76% of our kids are in a career technical education class, currently today. And if we look at what our students may need in the 21st century, we don't know what their jobs may be. We don't know what their desires may be. So making sure that students have access to any program that they wish is, I think, very important. And once again, that programming comes from the students' interest, and then we go out and make the program. So making sure the students have all the skills so they can be college, career, community prepared when they graduate, so they have the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, I'm Anaí Torres from Cibola High School. A superintendent is expected to lead within a variety of responsibilities. Which responsibility do you feel most excited and qualified to lead, and why?
Wow, that's a great question. Just leadership itself is exciting for me. I remember starting out as a classroom teacher and not even aspiring to be a leader, just wanting to be in the classroom and teaching, and at each avenue making sure that I could better myself and help those out that might learn from my experiences or mentor. So I think being a mentor and developing systems where we have future leaders that have the opportunity to showcase what they can do and coach them along, I think that's the most exciting thing. For better or for worse, I know when I was principal at Cibola High School, I might have had a reputation for being a micromanager. And I've tried to shake that a little bit, because here I see some people smiling. At the district level, it's not about micromanaging, but it's about trusting those who are in positions to do the job, and coach them and guide them and give them the tools that are necessary. And as an associate superintendent, I'm proud of the work I've done with athletic directors, with assistant principals who oversee athletics and activities. And this year I'm actually working with the Career Technical Education Department and also Exceptional Student Services, just guiding them and mentoring them. So I think as a superintendent, it's very important in our district, because it's so hard to find individuals who want the courage to lead, making systems and creating systems so those individuals feel comfortable with leading. And quite honestly, sometimes we're going to make mistakes. And you know, how do we fall forward gracefully and feel supported so we can continue leading? I think that's so important. But also at the same time, making sure everything's done in the best interest of every student.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, I'm Ashley from Vista High School. What are two critical issues that superintendents across Arizona must consider?
Two issues across Arizona? Okay.
Yeah.
And can everyone hear me okay? Okay, just making sure. Two issues. I think the most glaring issue right now is something called the Aggregate Expenditure Limit, also known as AEL. That's a huge cliff for our community. And what that means is, for some of you who may not know, or anyone in the public who maybe will watch this down the road if it's being recorded, aggregate spending limit is something that goes back to basically 1980s. It's an archaic rule that is now part of the Arizona Constitution that governs how much money can be spent by public schools. And just to, without getting too much in the weeds, but right now our school district, if it's not expanded, so every year the legislature would have to vote to basically override or waive the limit every year. And this year, that would come to a tune of about $17 million for our district. And we won't know about that if they are going to lift that until February, March. And that means our district would have to pay back $17 million in 3 months. Because the legislature, in a historic session, they actually funded education with about an 8.5% increase from the year before. Huge. Outstanding. They give us all this money, but because there's a cap on how much we can spend, they're going to ask for that money back unless the legislature votes with a 2/3 majority to waive it for this year. And the only way to change that permanently is to get it onto a ballot and change the Arizona Constitution with the will of the people. But that's $17 million. So essentially, we got an $8 million increase to our budget. But just there, we already owed another $9 million on top of that. So our district's looking at a deficit of $17 million come March. And how do we pay that back? And that's just our district. If you look at all the districts in just Yuma County, and add that up, you're probably looking at close to $50 million over 3 months not coming into the economy of Yuma, Arizona. That's going to be detrimental to small businesses, to nationwide change. That's $50 million not coming into our economy over a 3-month period. That's people losing their jobs. Because in our business, about 90% of our income is tied up in salaries. For us to pay back $17 million, we would have to essentially start cutting jobs, riffing people. And that's something that we haven't done for almost 2 decades. It's, well, a decade and a half, back when the recession hit in 2007. And that's just us. Large district like Mesa is going to be $80 million they have to pay back. But they're also the largest district in Arizona, so they have more students and more funding. But for us, a $17 million payback is detrimental, because when we receive money from the state, we don't keep it and say, let's save it for a rainy day, because we can only roll or save so much from year after year. So we don't have $17 million to say, oh, we saved this just in case. So that, I think, is the number one issue right there, is the aggregate expenditure limit. And hopefully our state legislatures get together and they're able to lift it another year. They did this last year as well, and it happens periodically, but this year it's a huge, huge, huge issue, and that's probably for every district. Second issue, it's a great question, because aggregate spending limit, kind of passionate about that. But I think the second issue is how do we navigate these new waters with the careers that are out there. It's the state legislature passed a special law which allows us to change the way we learn. No longer are we bound by period 1 through 6 and seat time necessarily. It's the instructional time model, it's called. And it can be challenging, but it's also exciting, because we have opportunities to maybe award credit for students who are out doing work-based learning, or maybe they're involved in FFA, and they're doing a lot of work outside, or 4-H, I should say. FFA is more embedded with our curriculum, but let's say 4-H. So just looking at how we award credit for what kids are actually doing, as opposed to being in the seat the whole time. Maybe kids have internships at doctor's offices. Maybe they're working at a grocery store, and they can get a econ credit for the work they're doing. But I think that's an exciting challenge, and it's going to be interesting to see how we navigate that. We've actually used that once or twice already since it's come into effect, where students stayed home. And I think September 26th PD Day was a great example, where kids were home, and we still received funding because we had work on campus and students were actually engaged in learning. So when I say they stayed home, they're engaged in learning outside of school. So now we have a great opportunity. How do we engage students in learning and make it look different? It can happen, but how do we make that work? So that's exciting. It's a challenge, though. But aggregate expenditure limit is something that it's hanging over everyone's head. And in Yuma County, it's probably about a $50 million hit just to our economy over 3 months. That's huge. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, Mr. Brienza. My name is Luis Encinas, and I'm from Kofa High School. My question for you is, how do you plan to embed yourself in the community to build community support?
I just got to say, I think it's great having students included, especially some that I haven't seen for a while, and some that are friends of my son. So thank you for being involved. I just want to say that's why we're here. So really exciting to have the students involved. How will I embed myself in the community? Just recently, I went out to AWC, Arizona Western College, for a meeting, and it was a meeting about how do we open up our health offices to be clinical sites for AWC students and nursing programs, so they have an opportunity to do clinical hours on our campuses as they work on their degree in nursing. So we went out there, didn't really expect this, but I was asked to be on the advisory board for AWC nursing. And that's just one little step that I think I've made, because I wasn't expecting, but I gladly jumped on. Trying to find ways to bring the community in is always important, but also how do we get involved? And when I say we, that's how do students in the district, how does the superintendent, lead by example, get involved in the community, making sure that our students' interests are going to be taken care of. For example, AWC nursing, like, I went out there with the hopes of, you know, if you come and work on our campuses, maybe you want to come work for us. I wasn't thinking about, oh, you want me to contribute and be a thought partner, but at the same time, they're all our kids. They went to our high schools, most likely. Now our chance to pay back and hopefully employ them or give them an opportunity to complete their degree. I work very closely with the Juvenile Justice Center, and I want to continue that work. We have a very close relationship with students who maybe made a mistake at some point in their lives, and we get together quarterly. But I've purposely gone out and asked them to come into our campuses to build those connections and see the programs we have. So their executive committee, their executive leadership, have an opportunity to see all the great things we're doing, and at that same time, that gives our students the opportunity who are in the system for whatever reason, because they made a decision, an opportunity to come and learn after they get out of Juvenile Justice Center, come back, integrate themselves back in our school seamlessly, and take advantage of all the great programs we have. And Luis, can you ask the question one more time, please?
How do you plan to embed yourself in the community to build community support?
Yeah. So I guess those are two examples. My personal goal this year, as an associate superintendent, was actually to make inroads. As a district leader, you know, working on refining my rapport with the community. Every opportunity I have to invite someone to our campus, because quite selfishly, the next step, and I think I mentioned this a little bit with instructional time model, is work-based learning. How do we have opportunities out there to have our students go out and get opportunities to work in the community so they can showcase their skills and refine their skills that they've been going to school for? So for me, that's been my personal goal, is to work on that rapport so I can actually make those connections, and hopefully that helps our students down the road get work-based learning opportunities.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My
Afternoon.
name is Kaylee Woods, and I'm the student body president at Cibola High School. My question for you is, please provide an example or examples of a time you have written or worked on school board policies.
Goodness. I believe Associate Superintendent Lisa Anderson and I just got done working on this about a week ago. Every year, and sometimes 2 or 3 times a year, Arizona School Board Association puts out a policy review. And that is essentially, here are the new policies that you should replace your old ones with, because the law may have changed or has changed, or legal guidance has changed. And we actually have to review each one of those to see if that's good for our community, to see if that works with what we do as a high school district. We don't have to accept them automatically, but we have to review them to make sure that they are in step with what we do here in Yuma County. So school board meeting tomorrow, there'll be a first read of exhibits that I've been part of a team that reviewed, and the way that works is we give the exhibits, we give the policies to our direct reports. It could be the teaching and learning team, it could be our safety officer, it could be our executive director of communications. Sorry, Eric, I just butchered your name, Chief Communications Officer. I gave you a new title. At the same time, it could be Executive Director of Facilities. Whatever area that falls under, we want them to review them to make sure that work is appropriate for the new policy. And so tomorrow you would actually see that, the work that I've put in doing that. We had a situation at one of our campuses where a color guard was not allowed by the campus to use their department flag. Worked very hard on a policy, so now that is policy that if you invite a color guard to be on your campus to participate in a school ceremony, they are allowed to use their department flag. So I personally went out and researched that policy and wrote it and had the school board read that. So now that shouldn't be an issue in the future. So I think those are a couple examples.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Damara Rodriguez, and I'm coming from San Luis High School, and I'm the student body president. So, your question is, Yuma Union High School District has spent the last few years implementing innovative approaches to education through district and campus teaching and learning teams. Currently, we are engaged in the process of defining what skills, knowledge, and the positions Yuma Union High School District grads should have through the Portrait of Graduate project. How would you continue to advance these approaches in general? And how would you specifically support this project?
Okay, I have to take my glasses off. I have the attributes written down, and I have not memorized them yet. But I can't read, and now I can't see anybody necessarily. So I'm just at that point in my life. But Portrait of the Graduate has been a huge amount of work, and we talk about every student graduating college, career, community prepared. But Portrait of Graduate actually, the core competencies, the 6 of them, actually gives us the tangible soft skills that's going to make that student successful. That's a self-aware learner, resilient learner, critical thinker, collaborator, communicator, and empathetic learner. Those 6 traits are so important in every individual, not just students, like adults as well. But the key there is those weren't created by one person. Those were created by students, by committees of students, of teachers, staff members, community members. So it was a team-wide approach that created these. So my job as superintendent is to keep that partnership and teamwork spirit alive and work with teaching and learning, work with our executive cabinets, work with our campuses on how they feel that should be best rolled out. Like I mentioned earlier, I know I had a reputation and still do, sorry. I have my wife, Patty, here tonight. She'll tell you I am not a micromanager at home. But I try to shake that a little bit. And for me, the superintendent, to micromanage how Portrait of Graduates rolled out is going to be the wrong approach. It's going to be a team effort, and it's going to take the students, because that's why we're here, and it's going to take the community to give input on the rollout. But I think the 6 tangible skills there that now we can measure what does it mean to be college prepared, community prepared, career prepared. Those 6 things I just named off are so important. So it's going to be a team approach, and I would support it 100%. And that's my approach to it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My question has 2 parts. The first part is, what do you believe are the most important things we should be doing as a school district for our students in order to prepare them for the future, 2025 and 2050?
So the 2 parts are 2025, and the second part's 2050?
No, I haven't said the second part.
Oh,
That's the
okay.
first question.
All right. So, wow. For me, it's a data set I'm not proud of, is back in, I believe, it was 16, 17, letter grade for Cibola High School came out. We were a C. Nothing wrong with C. It stands for Cibola. That's what we were always told. You'll never be better than a C. However, our students over 4 years, they accumulate what's called College Career Readiness Indicator Points, CCRIs. We had 24 kids, seniors, who had 0 points, which means if we are truly about every student preparing them from college, career, community, and they have 0 points, what did we do? And I say we as the adults. So that means we had 24 kids experience high school, and they didn't, I don't know what they experienced, I'll be honest with you. So as a school, we took those 24 kids. We analyzed their transcripts. We looked at their experiences. How could we have done something different for each one of those kids? And it's not about chasing the points, not at all. It's about giving them the experience. And it could be taking 16 core competency courses for university. It could be clapping a test. It could be taking AP. There's different things that go in there. But it's embarrassing when you have 24 kids and they score 0 points. And some of them transferred in. Like, you can make an excuse for why it didn't happen, but at the end of the day, there's 24 kids that we didn't do anything for. So we implemented what's called the Plan, Do, Study Act, and you look at your data, you make a plan around it, you study it, you act upon it, and you look at the results, and you just keep going. It's a vicious circle, and it's fine. And we did a lot of work, and I say we as the whole campus. Classified, certificated, everyone was involved in the work for 1 year. Those 24 kids are already gone, okay? Like, they graduated, but how do we stop that and not have 24 kids experience high school with not really experiencing and preparing them for college, career, community? It's heartbreaking. So we worked hard. The next year, we were a B school. I mean, that was amazing. Hard work by everybody. And we got it down to 12 kids, okay? Like, but it's kind of lagging data because for 3 years, we maybe didn't do much for those kids. And I know I'm saying that incorrectly by saying not doing much, but when they have 0 points after 4 years, we can do better. So my job as a superintendent, and what I think we need to do for 25 or 2050, whatever it is we have all these opportunities. I mean, we are rich with opportunities. And I say this in the nicest way and hoping that no one tells my son, but at the same time, if I'm not pushing my son to take advantage of an opportunity, he may not take it. And I work in the system. So how do we then make it so every stakeholder out there can be part of the solution, so we don't have 24 kids, we don't have 12 kids, we have 0 kids who after 4 years just experienced high school. They took advantage of something we have to offer. That's going to be the key for 25 and 2050. Like, every year, that should be, how do we have whatever adult is involved in that student's life, how do we make them aware of what we have to offer? I gave a judge a tour a couple weeks ago, showed her all these things we have for CTE, classroom instruction. They have a daughter at one of our schools. And she's like, oh my goodness, I didn't know anything about this. Well-educated, involved in school, and didn't know all the great things. We don't want to be the best kept secret in Yuma County. All right? We do not want that. We want to be what everyone wants to have, and everyone knows what we have, and they're pushing. Like, push the kids in, have responsible adults check in on them, but that's for 2025, 2050, whatever year. It's how do we get the adults in Yuma County that are involved with the kids knowing what we have to offer. Because I don't want to have 24 kids not score points. I don't have 1 kid. If that's my child, I'm not okay with that. Part 2.
How do
Sorry.
you see yourself using this leadership post to influence this work?
Well, that's kind of my North Star. My main star right there is making every stakeholder aware to the opportunities of access, which will lead to excellence by our students. And I, as superintendent, have to drive that work. It's not changing every student graduating prepared for college, career, community. That's going to happen. But how do we make sure every stakeholder knows about that so the students are taking advantage of every opportunity they have? And that, as superintendent, that would be my driving force, is how do we make every stakeholder? And every is a big word. It's a big word. When we went to every student, college, career, community prepared, wow, really? Every? Yeah, every kid. Because I don't want 1 kid left out. So how do we have every stakeholder? Like I mentioned, like, if I'm not pushing my son, it may not happen. If I have a judge who's well-educated, not knowing what we have to offer, well then how do I have the largest migrant population in Arizona coming to our schools, and how do we gear them? How do we equip them? How do we educate them so their kids are taking advantage of everything? That's important.
Thank you.
What are your strategies to recruit, retain, and build capacity in certified, classified, and administrative staff?
When I was a principal at Cibola, every year we'd have the graduating class in the gym. So it's the last time they're together, ever together, all together. because people go off in different roads, class reunions, and everyone's not going to show up. So I would always tell everyone, you know, it's a great day to be a Raider, number one, but now it's a great day to be a YUHSD student because all our schools are awesome. But I can tell you right now, I would offer a kid a job. You graduate from college, come back and work for me. Number one, grow our own. That is the most important thing we do. At one point, when I was principal at Cibola High School, we had over 60% of our staff were graduates of Cibola High School, just Cibola High School. And I can tell you right now that if we would extrapolate that out to all YUHSD schools, we're probably close to 80–90%. I'm one of the, well, I'm not saying one of the rare ones because I look out in here, there's a lot of transplants, but I moved here from Milwaukee, Wisconsin back in '96 because there weren't any jobs in Milwaukee for teachers. Plus it was really cold, I did not want to live there anymore, I'm sorry, 5 years is enough. But Yuma, Arizona and Gallup, New Mexico were the only two places hiring teachers at the time. Well, I'm like, well, I'll interview for Yuma. I've never been there. I've been to Gallup. I didn't want to go back, but I'd been to Yuma. So they were running 3 hours late, and I said, let me just wait. I have no other opportunity. So I got offered a job, came down here, sight unseen, loved it. We don't have very many opportunities to go out of state anymore to bring people back because every state, every community needs teachers. So for us to recruit, to retain, it's so important that we grow our own. We look at our own community. San Luis High School used to have a tremendous turnover rate. Every year, I'm not exaggerating, 50, 60 teachers, easily. And that's just teachers. We have classified staff on top of that. Now, their hiring's done early on. Hiring from San Luis community, hiring San Luis graduates. They're coming back to San Luis High School because it was a special place, and they want to work there. Every school should be a special place, and every one of our graduates, we want to offer them a job. The state's done some really good things when it comes to certifying employees to be teachers, and that's emergency certified. Not emergency sub, but emergency certified teacher. All our graduates with a bachelor's degree have the opportunity to come back and work for us. We can get you certified, pass a background check, but we can get you certified. With that, use us for a year to see if you like teaching. We're going to use you for a year to see if that's something you really like to do. If it's a good match, let's keep doing that. We can do it up to 3 years and then get you into a program. In fact, we have a program here in-house that we're not taking advantage of, Yuma Cares. It's our own teaching program approved by the state that got approved last year. We need, and that's one of my goals, would be to take advantage of that so our instructional coaches are part of that, where we can produce our own teachers in-house and get them certified. We're not taking advantage of that. So to recruit, we have to recruit within. Grow our own. Make it attractive. To retain, once again, we want to make sure that every employee, and this is just not teachers, classified is so hard to find. Like, bus drivers rule the world right now, but making sure everyone feels supported and valued in their job is so important. If you don't have that, we're going to lose employees. It doesn't matter. Can you ask your question one more time? I want to make sure I answered everything.
What are your strategies to recruit, retain, and build capacity in certified, classified, and administrative staff?
Okay. So, recruit in-house. We have to focus on that. Our communications department's done a great job looking outside, blasting nationwide. Social media, you can leverage that a lot more easy than newspapers, for example. When it comes to administration, not everyone wants to be administrator these days. It's a tough job. Not everyone wants to be a teacher either. It's a tough job. Administration, though, we just began a new position called Director of Student Supports, and I would continue focusing efforts on building those individuals so they understand what it takes to be an administrator, and maybe they would want to apply to be an administrator one day. But I think also allowing people to fall forward gracefully, and I've used that term before, is when they do make a mistake, how do we correct that mistakes? Because we've all made mistakes in our jobs, and we somehow survive. So I think making sure that people have an opportunity, whether you're a classified teacher, administrator, that you're doing what's in the best interest of kids. If it's something that we have to give you feedback on and correct, so be it. but we'll make it better next time around. So specific strategies, I would lean tremendously on human resources in the strategies we already have, because we're being effective, I believe, right now. We have over 1,000 employees, and it's always challenging to find teachers and classified throughout the year, but growing our own administrators, teachers, classified. I just worked with Yuma Police Department on a workplace violence presentation over at Yuma High on September 26th. Saw several students, former students, who are now classified employees, but they're going to school to be a teacher. So there's opportunities for us to leverage jobs and still train people to be future teachers and future administrators. We just have to find the right connections and avenues for them.
Thank you.
As superintendent, how will you support a culture of collaboration in our school, partner districts, and community?
Well, collaboration is the most important thing we do. Yuma is very special. Somerton is very special. San Luis is very special. Our county is very special. We have roughly 7 feeder districts that bring students into our high school district. Without collaboration, there's going to be a disjointed effort in making sure kids enroll and they have the right knowledge, whatever that may be, because they're all coming at different levels. But we have a basic understanding of what they're leaving their middle school with and what they're entering high school with. So we have to have some sort of collaboration with them. And I like to think it's a very positive collaboration. Just recently, working with District 1, had a meeting with them regarding collecting data so that our students who may be tested as gifted or health records, whatever electronically is in the system, could be transferred to us. But that's part of a small collaboration. And every year we have to collaborate with them to get information on incoming freshmen. So just maintaining but fostering and improving that, maybe some vertical alignment, which means meetings with 8th grade teachers or administration to see where their content lines up with ours. That's been done years ago. We haven't done that recently in any great extent, but let's be honest, COVID really threw a lot of things off, and we're finally on the other side of that, I believe, and students are back in school, and teachers are collaborating all across their campuses and inter-district as well. Our Mondays are specifically designed for collaboration, and campuses usually have 2 Mondays out of the month where they have specific collaborations going on in their campus. But then we have what's called singletons, individual classes in our district. It could be fine arts, it could be advanced placement classes, where you're only one on your campus that teaches that class. So how do you collaborate if you're a music teacher, if you're only one on your campus? Having the opportunity to do that once a month with other teachers in our district is hugely important. But the collaboration also goes to post-secondary, to AWC. We have meetings with AWC every year regarding our concurrent enrollment classes. That means AWC classes that count for credit for high school, and dual enrollment classes, which means classes that our high school teachers are teaching that count for AWC credit. I think those collaborations are so vastly important, because when students are successful in a college class, the studies show they're going to be very successful in college. So making sure those collaborations continue. We're part of basically a nationwide group called KnowledgeWorks. They're focused in 4 areas in Arizona, four schools and school districts in Arizona, and I believe Amphi, Santa Cruz, Mesa, and here, and I might be forgetting one. But that KnowledgeWorks collaboration about personalized learning is so hugely important, because making sure that the learning is personalized for every student is done through collaboration. We can't go about this by ourselves. So as superintendent, I have to support the collaboration that already exists and also allow for teaching and learning teams. Quite frankly, any team that is looking to collaborate outside the district, what benefit does it have for our students? How will that benefit the district? And how can I support you in that collaboration? Because that collaboration builds good ties and also shares all the great things we have in Yuma, Somerton, San Luis. And I keep saying Somerton. Our students come from Somerton, and we have a school being built in Somerton which opens up next year. So how do we let everyone know all these great things that are going on, which will hopefully open roads for our students when they graduate or while they're still in school?
Thank you.
Why do you want to be the superintendent of Yuma Union High School District number 70?
It's a great question. I'm looking at the students right now, and that's why. When I entered education, my dad was a college professor, my mom was a teacher, and had 5 kids, so she decided to work from the home, watching us. So, you know, I've always wanted to be involved in education. I thought I would be a college professor teaching Latin American history, actually. Quite frankly, this is not what I thought I'd be doing at this point in my life when I was in college, but it's like our kids. We change our career trajectories all the time. But why do I want to be superintendent? I look around at my 26, 27 years of experience in this district, in this wonderful community, and I wouldn't want anyone else to do the job, quite frankly. I want the job because I feel very strongly that our next step is involving every stakeholder in making sure every student graduates college, career, community prepared. And it's tough. Being in public education is a tough job. It's long hours. It's ultimate reward on graduation night. It really is. You see all these kids graduating, and it's great. But the work to get them there isn't always easy. And you can be, you know, the #1 student in your class. That's why I don't keep things on my desk. You can be the #1 student in your class, and it's not easy for you. You can be the number 650 kid that, in ranking, and it wasn't easy for you. It's never going to be easy. And I want to be part of every student's success. And I feel that we have amazing teams here in our district. Our Superintendent Thompson says we have elite teams. She's absolutely correct. Been to a lot of different districts over the last few years. Wouldn't trade it for the world what we have here. Wouldn't trade it for the world. And our students are the most amazing kids we have. That's why I want to be superintendent, because I feel that with my energy, my drive, my experiences, I can help with the next iteration of making sure every stakeholder is involved in a student's life and pushing them towards excellence. And it's not easy. It's not easy. Public education is one of the few fields where you get feedback right away. It could be a phone call. It could be from the student in class. But I want to be able to support every administrator. I want to be able to support every teacher and every classified employee, no matter what their job is, and making sure that every student continues to graduate college, career, community prepared, and we can then look at the community and how do we get every stakeholder working that way.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, students. Those were excellent questions. We appreciate you participating tonight. That concludes the student questions. Are there people here that would like to participate in the public questioning? No public questioning. Okay, I don't see a stampede. Thank you all for coming. Okay, our next item is to go into executive session. Let me read this. ARS 38-431.031. The governing board will meet in executive session to interview candidate for the position of district superintendent and have discussion regarding the qualification of the candidate interviewed. Is there a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded to go into executive session. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you all for coming. And we appreciate all you students coming and asking such wonderful questions.